Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. So this is going to be a quick how-to video, and this is intended for all of those that want to add an external subwoofer. It has to be a powered subwoofer ideally. You probably could run it with a passive subwoofer, but then you'll need an external amplifier, which kind of negates this whole process. So this is for all of those that maybe you have a soundbar, maybe you have just built-in speakers on your TV, your projector, anything. And this is the way that you actually add a powered subwoofer to any additional or any existing setup where you just need a little bit more bass. You might have a small subwoofer lying around that you want to add just to the mix, just to add a little bit more bass. So it's very, very simple, and it is a little bit of a hack, and it does require a little bit more patience in terms of setting up your levels and everything, but it works. And in the pinch where you're just in between setups like I am, it will give you the ability to actually start using your subwoofer and actually test it out. So essentially what you got to do is from your source device essentially, so in my case it's the projector, the L9G projector from Hisense, but in your case it could be a TV, it could be a projector, it could be anything. As long as it has an optical output, as this does, as you can see there, what you want to do is take your optical output, send it to one of these. Now this I actually purchased quite a few years back when I actually hooked up an old Technic system to my plasma TV. I'm pretty sure you should still be able to get these quite readily, but you need to make sure that you get the right one as well. So this, as you can see, is a digital to analog audio converter. Initially I think I actually purchased a different one and it didn't work. So this gives you the option where you can either have a normal phono digital input or you can use your optical. Now the good thing about the optical is, even though in this current setup my soundbar doesn't have an output, it doesn't allow you to actually expand the sound from the built-in speakers and the built-in subwoofer, which is just there. So as you can see, that's the existing subwoofer and that's the new subwoofer. So I wanted to hook this up to this existing setup. So what I've done is I've taken the optical cable out. It goes into the digital to analog converter. That gives me my phono outputs, and they then go to the subwoofer. The subwoofer has its own amplifier, so the only thing that needs is a power cable and it's good to go. This now gives you an import for your subwoofer's amplifier, I should specify, and it gives it the audio. With this particular setup, what you do need to do is you do need to set your level manually. So depending on the content you're listening to, in this particular case, you have crossover, you have auto on off, and then you also have your sort of volume level as well, and two of those you're obviously going to have to set manually. You can have it so then you can either power this on using the input or you can power it on manually. That's entirely up to you, but essentially what this is doing is any signal that's coming into the projector, and initially I thought this would only work for signals that are being output by the projector, but as it turns out you can actually use this for anything being input into it as well. So I have the Apple TV and I have a PlayStation. If I can, but the Apple TV is connected to the soundbar, so essentially it's a HDMI cable going up to the soundbar, and then even though this is sending a HDMI signal to the projector, you can still take that out using the optical port and it should still work. There will be a slight delay, that is the one downside. So for speech, so if you want to have the crossover set at 80 Hz or above, then you are going to have a slight delay in audio bass frequencies because it's just not perfectly in sync. If you have phase, you can probably try and dial that out, but I actually found that makes it worse. So what I've done is I've just put the crossover below 80 Hz, and at that point it's fine. Obviously, as I mentioned, this is more for a temporary setup rather than a long-term permanent setup. But what it does do is, say for example, for all of those that have soundbars like this one, where you don't have any additional output but you're not happy with the bass output. That's one of the most common sort of comments I get on all of the LG soundbars, the fact that people aren't happy with the bass output. What this does is you can keep your existing subwoofer because that's connected wirelessly, and this gives you the ability to actually add an additional subwoofer, and obviously you can set the crossover to whatever you want. So in this case, with this current setup, what I've done is I've left the existing subwoofer on and I've just tuned it down a little. So I've set it to 0 dB, and then what I've done is I've used the Monolith 15-inch V2 subwoofer, and using the crossover I've set that below 80 Hz, so then this just fills in all of that deep rumbly bass that the built-in subwoofers are never capable of doing. This now gives me a better balanced front soundstage where I believe that's around about a 7-inch subwoofer compared to a 15-inch 1000-watt subwoofer that I believe is around about the 150 mark. So much more powerful, but it still works with everything. So everything that you've got connected up to the projector, anything that image that you get on screen will also output to the subwoofer this way as well. Now this particular little unit, I'll try and find one and add a link in the description below. It will require its own power, so that's all it needs. It just needs it to be plugged in, and then you have your output, and then you have your input. Obviously this you can tuck away once you've actually set this up. If you're keeping it for a little while, I've left this out just for demonstration purposes for this video. But I was actually pleasantly surprised to find that it actually works regardless of whether you're playing something back using the built-in apps on the projector or whether you're playing using external devices. The bass still comes through, or the signal still comes through I should say, and it outputs to the amplifier fine. The final thing is your switch on method. So I've actually left this to detect a signal, and the amplifier or subwoofer turns off after roughly around about half an hour. If you did want it to be manually, then obviously you just turn that switch on your amplifier and then have some sort of plug set up, some sort of switch where you can actually switch it on and off manually. There is no remote signal, so unlike car audio where you actually have a separate remote wire, there is no sort of remote signal wire. It literally just uses the audio input as a source. So as soon as it detects that it's getting audio input via that cable, this subwoofer will turn on. As you can see, the red light is on there, and that will turn to green once it detects any type of input. And generally with this setup, it's as soon as I actually power up the Apple TV and the projector and everything is powered up, at that point it basically just detects and it will switch on. And obviously then you can set it up however you like. I do have a lot of viral videos on my channel, so check those out if you want to see the performance difference between these. Obviously the audio won't come across when I'm using the iPhone's built-in microphone, but it'll give you an idea in terms of the big difference between going from a small built-in subwoofer for the actual package for the soundbar to a behemoth, the beast that is the Monolith V15. Anyway, that's it for this particular video. If you have enjoyed it, if you benefited from it, please do subscribe, hit the notification bell, and also like the video. It'll help the channel out a lot. And until the next one, thanks very much for watching.